we're stopping here.
Yeah, relaunching squad. I keep forgetting they're using the Unreal Engine.
Alright. I have started the stream, so I'm just waiting for you to join.
Okay.
It takes a little bit for everyone to get notifications and stuff too, so. Oh, whoops, my squad went to the flats. Whoops.
Well, those 3 dots do move. Okay, so that's how I know the game's not frozen. Yeah, I was at Long Beach Comic-Con today. We somehow managed to get the Lost World RV down there.
Yeah, that thing looks massive.
It's huge, like... It's like an accordion bus, is how big it is.
Holy cow. Oh, there's a dude in there. Oh man, they put an L can on a saw in this game. It is the most overpowered thing ever. Hello, everybody.
Is that part of the update?
Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of new guns and stuff. It's pretty awesome. Oh, is this still alive? All right, he should be dead now. Hey, everybody. What's up? How's it going? We are playing squad tonight, and I am joined by Spartan117GW, although he is trying to get his game going right now. What's the status on that, Greg?
Let's see. I'm loading back into the main menu, and then I'll relaunch into the server.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll just wait for you on this hillside with my 240. Or 249, I should say.
Man, I'm actually pretty excited to play the new update, because I've played the old version, and yeah, I've been hearing some good things about it. So it's like the spiritual successor to Project Reality.
Yeah, it's like a whole new game when version 10 came out.
Wow.
Somebody, what would be a good cost-effective MOSFET? I don't think there's such a thing as a cost-effective MOSFET. I haven't heard of any, have you, that are cost-effective? I mean, you're basically putting a microchip in your your gun.
I think once you get into MOSFETs, it's almost better just to go like with something that you know is gonna work, because I mean you're just gonna get that much better performance out of it. Like Titan's kind of expensive, but right now that seems to be like the
That's the
go-to
best,
right now.
yeah. In my opinion, that's the best right now.
I'm watching the stream on my phone. Yeah, so you're like, it's a frozen map.
Yeah, it's a snow map.
Snow map.
I'm trying to take this tunnel, but this is the hardest thing to get into. You need a vehicle to just shoot down the tunnel, and everyone else like pours in. Look at this medic. Get in there, medic! Oh, I don't know if that was friendly incoming tracer or outgoing enemy tracer. What is he doing? Oh, he's leaning. Here he goes. Get in there. Oh, here comes a striker. Nice, nice.
Right,
okay, I'm gonna
server browser. For America, got it.
Alright, cool.
Oh wow, I forgot how loud the music of this game was.
Hey Greg, apparently you're really low. Your volume's really low.
Okay, let me see. Is that better? Let's move the mic a little bit.
You guys hear Greg alright, or is he still coming in low?
Hello.
Oh, what the hell? Why am I stuck?
Seeing if that helps. I'm in the queue for the server.
Will I be at Stonebreaker?
Hey, I heard you guys picked Swamp Sniper to be the commander for that PvP game.
Yep, we sure did.
That's cool. If I can, I'm gonna try to go after that. That's gonna be fun.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll cover if you dig that.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm stuck in the queue.
That's alright.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's look at some of these comments. chat.
Oh,
Is
we're
this
both a
about
little low,
the
apparently.
GI's Black Hawk Down video? Why, yes it is. Is the thumbnail for the video like the blurred face photo? Someone says you are the best airsoft player he has ever seen.
All right, guys,
There's
I
no
turned down
weapon swipe.
the game volume. How is that?
Let's see. Jet, are you coming to the Summer Palaces? Oh, the high ground thing.
Yeah,
Ah,
Palooza.
the Palooza. Okay, yeah, I have no idea how to, how the way the guy spelled it. Game audio needs to go way down. Well, let's
Yep,
see what that
I've
was
turned the
like.
game audio down a lot.
Okay, so yeah. Hey, I see Dials 46,
What's up,
Mr.
Nigel?
Elite Force. Yeah, Mr. Elite Force himself. Everyone's on that Black Hawk Down game. Leah's like, what do you think?
Oh man.
Oh, that's because, yeah, because they're doing Black Hawk Down quotes. I was trying to figure, it's like, what is Niles talking about?
Hey guys, the hab is right here. The hab is to my 12. Oh, that guy got wrecked.
Oh, the guy in front of you? Yeah, I see his dead body.
There we go. There we
I'm
go.
I'm just looking at your feed.
Okay,
Screen
so
looking.
I guess the volume is better now. I'm in a great
Cool.
spot to just mow people down coming out of this hab. Life is good. Life is good,
Life,
everybody.
life is good.
So where are you at right now in the game? Are you're in
I'm
queue?
still in the queue. 6 out of 7. FML. Let's see. Someone asks, Jet, is Crytek Trident CRB good for starter milsim? I know. I would say it's pretty good for starting out. What's your take on it?
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
Basically someone was asking if the Crytek CRB is good for starting out in milsim. I think it's kind of an obvious yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is definitely a good gun. Oops.
Yeah,
Ah, I just
right.
barely missed a
Right
dude.
now, it seems like when it comes to guns, the Crytek's and the Avalons are kind of right there, neck and neck. One thing that the Elite Force guys did bring up to me was that the warranty on the Elite Force guns is like a year long, which is like, I mean, that means
Yeah,
you could like beat the gun up through the entire year, and if it breaks, I think they'll help you out, almost no questions asked.
yeah, definitely. Whoa.
Yeah. So that actually is pretty good, especially if you break your guns a lot. Oh, sweet, 5 out of 8.
Oh
Awesome.
no! I forgot to reload. No. Oh, it was like the last dude in there. Dang.
Well, I'm watching your feed, so you're like, you're prone in the room with the saw. What happens? The guy just like runs in there
He
and
he
gets you from behind.
yeah, he walks in and I was not I did not load my gun. All right, let's turn the game volume up. The
Luke
game
Hales
settings up a
asks, "I
little
just bought a
bit.
CMR rail accessory kit from a guy. How do you set up your rail? I mean, I keep my rail pretty slick. I might put one vertical foregrip on there, but I mean that's like the most I would do. And I just usually use the CMR rail covers to dress up the rest of the gun. And if I kind of feel like it, I'll put a hand stop kit at the end reversed. Keep my hand from sliding too far forward, but for airsoft, it's not really a huge deal. So on real guns, it is because you want to fucking burn your hand in the barrel.
Yeah, Greg doesn't want to get his hand down the shaft all the way. That's what it is. He just want to get his hand down the shaft of that rail all the way. What?
Everyone keeps asking if you guys are going to Stonebreaker.
Come on. We are not. We're
Yeah.
quite honestly, I'm only going to be attending Milsom West games and a handful of AMS games and mainly DFE games.
DFE. Yeah, if you
Just
guys haven't seen anything about DFE, it's pretty cool, and the app is I mean it's taking airsoft in the right direction. So if you're looking for something different, that's definitely one to try.
yeah, the biggest thing is it's just the information that you get from the app. For those of you that have gone to like large milsim games, and you're always it's always this question of where are we, what are we doing, etc., etc., etc. That is,
Who owns what?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who's in the lead? I
Where
don't
should I
know.
go for XYZ? Um, Greg can attest to this. That is not a problem at a Desert Fox event because you've got essentially a mini map out at your disposal on your mobile device, something that you already have. So there's no need to buy something else. and the app just tells you everything you need to know. Actually, Greg, why don't you like? Obviously, it's my app, so Greg, if
Hmm.
you could kind of input on this, so that way
Yeah,
it's not just a super biased or seems like it's a super biased
yeah.
description by myself.
So, like, what I like about the app from a commander's perspective, and I gave a really in-depth, like, AAR and kind of ups and downs and improves and sustains and stuff to Jet.
Oh,
So
this guy's gonna get
it
wrecked.
gives you all the information that you need. As a commander, I could see where everyone is, and I could see the status of the objectives, which was really cool because I could see if, oh, I don't have enough momentum over here. I know I need to throw more bodies at this objective, or this one's set really good, or we have good security here, or I can literally see where our guys are, and I can see if there's gaps in our security, or if we don't have anyone on the flanks, or if we're wasting bodies moving through an area, or I can see if our guys are getting bogged down. So there's a lot of information that comes through that normally people would have to radio to you that you can just see directly. I mean, it's just like playing Battlefield where you can look on a map and like, oh man, there's a lot of dead guys over there that we're probably not doing very good, or they're killing us, or maybe they have a weapon set up or something like that. So, I think future versions of the app will incorporate a couple more ideas in the little ups and downs thing that I sent to them. But I mean, it's going totally in the right direction. So I can't wait to see how the app evolves because it was pretty dang good when we used it. So
Yeah, we're nowhere.
I can
We are
only yeah.
nowhere near done with that app. That thing will continue to evolve for years to come, as long as I'm still playing Airsoft, which is probably gonna be till the day I die.
So basically, I think essentially the first DFE event was like a live real world beta test. And like I think one thing that we should focus on leading up to the next game is kind of educating people on how they should have their gear set up for it. Because there were some people that kind of like, they had the app, but they didn't realize, hey, you should probably have a battery pack hooked up to your phone the entire time because it's not to say that's going to chew through your battery, but to be using the app, the app has to be like open and stuff. So it's like you could potentially run into issues there.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I ran it without a charger that whole time. Oh, thanks, medic.
yeah, but you know how some people's phones are better than others.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no,
I also have a brand new
memory
phone.
leak. There, there's just something about this game that causes like I have like 16 gigs of RAM, which shouldn't be a problem, but it says video memory.
Hmm. All right, so let's move on from the DFE game. If you guys want to know more about the app, my latest video, Airsoft Augmented Reality, covers it in full detail. So let's move on to our main topic of the night, which is
Oh
stolen
man,
valor. So
yeah.
for those of you who haven't seen, there was a post recently posted to a certain store uh, on
Oh,
their like
are you not
page.
allowed to say?
I mean, I probably can. I mean, it was on
Okay.
GI's. It was on GI's Facebook, and it was a photo of Greg, which is the very thumbnail photo that I'm using for this video of Greg in his Delta Force gear from 1990, and his
Yeah,
face was
1990s.
blurred.
Yeah.
Now, Greg, why was your face blurred again?
Okay, so I went over there to shoot a video about my gear and super excited and stuff. And like, normally when people blur their pictures, it's kind of like to be cool or whatever. Some people think it's cool, some people think it's stupid. But I think everyone can agree that you're not really like, you're pretending to be someone. You're not claiming to be someone, and just by blurring your face doesn't make you like, you know, like it doesn't make you claiming to be that person. You're just
Right.
blurring your face just for immersion to look cool or whatever, right? Or to have fun.
Yeah, everyone has their
For
own reasons for blurring their
Mhm.
airsoft photos. Whether it be if you want some super cool operator photo, you don't want people to see you with a gun, dressing up like a soldier, etc., etc. The possibilities and reasons are endless.
Yeah. So for us, it was kind of funny because I kind of botched that photo. Like everything was good about it except my eye. It was like I don't know where the hell I looked like I was looking down or that I was squinty. I mean, okay, because I'm Asian. Like
You
if
had
my
one
eyes aren't
job,
wide
Greg.
open, yeah, one job was to look
You had
cool.
one job. Don't
Messed
blink.
that up. Don't blink. And yeah, so like something was up with my eyes. So they're like, oh man. And then and then I was talking to the guys over there and like, hey, we can fix this photo. All he has to do is blur my face and then it looks fine. So then you can't tell. So that's the reason why it got blurred. Once it was posted, it kind of went super crazy from there because like everyone was cool with it and everyone was just putting their favorite Black Hawk Down quotes. And there is this one guy who was like super hardcore white knighting and like to death and he wasn't gonna let it die. He kept saying or claiming that if you're blurring your face while you're wearing like military gear or whatever, that you're basically claiming to be that person. And basically, he was saying that blurring your face is like a form of disrespect to like dudes in the service, which is really funny. And I was like, oh my god, this can't take this serious. But that thread went nuts. It was probably one of the most entertaining threads I've read in a long time.
Yeah, his basic argument was that by Greg blurring his face in that photo, that he was claiming, and I'm using air quotes, to be an operator because only operators blur their faces in gear photos like that.
Mhm.
And if you're doing it, then you're claiming to be an operator. Or I mean, operator could be honestly any type of word, but specifically he was saying you're claiming to be a special forces dude. And so this set off a whole string of
Mhm.
other people coming into the thread and
Oh
commenting with their own
yeah.
blurred photos and reversing the blur, and it just hilarity ensued. But throughout the entirety of the 100 plus something comments or whatever it got to, this dude
It was
decided
like
that
300-400, yeah,
yeah,
comments.
he was gonna stick by his stance of that is totally stolen valor. Now,
Mhm.
one of the funnier things that happens in that thread is another guy comes in there and he claims that he's from Naval Special Warfare and he's got the badge of honor to comment on this and he's right and all this stuff. Thread continues. Turns out that guy is actually not who he claims to be. So
Yeah.
he is in fact actual stolen valor on the internet.
Actual stolen valor, yeah.
And the original guy talking about Greg's blurred face says nothing about that guy. So it's a very slippery slope when you're talking about stolen valor. Um, Quite honestly, I personally do not understand why people do that. To me, it is such a ridiculous thing to try to claim. There's not really much to gain from doing that, you know, other than maybe like a 10% discount or
Yeah,
uh
people just want a pat on the back.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what is your take on people that do that, Greg? Do you care? Do you get infuriated by it? What's your
I mean,
stance?
like, I did put up a video a long time ago where there was like some guy dressed up as like a first ID guy, but he was just ate the fuck up, and he was like harassing other players and telling them he was like this and that and the other, and we were just like, this guy is like full of like, if you're like, I mean, if you're claiming it's bad, but if you're like either abusing other people or bullying other people or using it to like gain something or whatever, then it's pretty messed up. So like, I mean, those people
Right, right.
definitely need to be like, I think those people need to be like confronted. Which
Yes.
then I have confronted people once or twice before. I mean, and there's some famous confrontations up online through like different Facebook pages or YouTube and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's wrong. I mean, some people definitely take it to like a whole nother level, like deep, like to the point where they're getting money from the government and this, that, and the other. So there's a lot of different levels of it. I mean, there's some where it's like, hey, man, you know, you're a dick, but you know, you apologize, you didn't really like hurt anybody or whatever. Yeah, some people use it to like bully people and stuff. Like that one guy who was like, I give you permission to blur your face because I've as being the only person with special operations experience in this thread, and I laughed so hard. And then
Yeah.
later on, other guys who actually do have special operations experience commented and were replying to both of those retards, and it was super entertaining to see because both of them looked like idiots. One guy because his story was falling apart, and the other guy because he just would not stop white knighting as hard as he could. So that was probably one of the funniest things I've seen in a while.
Yeah, just the level of ridiculousness of that guy's commitment was absolutely through the roof. There's a
Yeah.
couple people commenting. They're not sure about your service. Greg was a soldier in the U.S. Army, 82nd Airborne.
Hmm.
Myself, I was a United States Navy Hospital Corpsman assigned to 2nd Marine Logistics Group. I have one tour to Iraq in
Hmm.
2007 to Al Anbar Province, the lovely
Nice.
province of absolutely nothing in the western desert of Iraq.
So I'll give a breakdown of what I did. So basically, I didn't really get to do much, but I joined the Army in 2008. Went to Fort Jackson for basic training 213, Charlie Company 2nd Platoon. Went to Fort Gordon for AIT for the MOS 25 Bravo, which is IT specialist. So I mean, they just need to reclass that as like keyboard commando because that's basically what it is. Um, and then after that, went to airborne school. 3 weeks. I mean, 3 weeks to learn how to do something that takes like 10 minutes or less, and how not to die when you jump out of a plane. And not how to get your arm ripped off with the static line, stuff like that. But I mean, it's pretty simple. And not how to break your legs. And I went to the 82nd Airborne Division, 1st Brigade Combat Team. Was there for about 2 years or so. Then I PCSed because I had a medical condition, so I couldn't deploy. So I PCSed over to Japan, which is kind of a rare thing, especially for that time period. But I was like, I was given the choice. It's like, well, you can go to Germany, you can go to Guam, or you can go to Japan. And I was like, man, they play airsoft in Japan. I want to go to Japan. So I went to Japan for a few years, and that was when I started really kind of, well, I did play some airsoft when I was at Fort Bragg, but I started kind of really getting into it when I was in Japan, and which was really fun. And I actually got to play against the Japanese ground self defense force. Like some of those guys play too, so we got to play against them, and that was really cool.
That's cool. Oh,
And
hang on
then
1 second. Thank you. Oops. What was that? I think it was Call Sign Wolf for the super chat, the $2 donation. He said, "Thank you both for your services." Well, thank
oh,
you. Thank you for that generous tip.
domo arigato. I
Go ahead,
totally
Greg.
forgot you could
Sorry.
do the super
Oh,
chats.
actually, Greg, I have a question. I didn't see it in that thread. Maybe you did.
Mhm.
I believe that the guy who was talking about the whole blurred face being stolen valor, he was in the army. I believe he was an 11 Bravo or something.
He said he was like a 60 something that reclassed to like 11 or something like that. So
What is
that
that?
was
I've never even heard of that first MOS. 66 Bravo. What the?
was it was it
Is that
was
a
it
Star Wars
66?
reference? Maybe.
Well, okay. Well, the problem with the MOS classifications is that they've actually changed a lot. Like in the army, they've probably changed the most out of all the branches. Like 25 Bravo, which is what I am, used to be like 74 Bravo or some stuff like that. So it can be anything. I'd have to go back and look, and they actually ended up deleting that thread that he commented. So I'd have to go look. Well, I might have some screenshots,
That's
but
okay. I mean, it did it.
it was yeah. He said
He
he
could
said
have
he
been.
claimed
He
he was
could have not
ven.
been. There's no way
Mhm.
of really telling. Quite
He was
honestly.
vague about it. He was very vague, and people
Yeah.
were asking what unit he was in, but he never answered.
Yeah. So let's talk about how to spot someone. Well, first let's talk about what. Well, we've already kind of considered what is stolen valor. Someone was
Hmm.
asking in the chat if airsoft is stolen valor in a sense because people dress up in
Nah, you're
military
just playing
gear.
and having fun. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's the way I see it. I
yeah,
mean,
it's basically an extension of basically if you combined reenacting and basically war games or force on force or maneuver warfare type games like that, like kind of how paintball started back in the day, you basically get airsoft because it's one part war games and one part kind of the reenacting side. Some people take the reenactment portion more seriously than others, and that's where the impressionism comes from. Like it's like I'm telling you, because as someone who does like reenactments and someone who does airsoft, and I know like other guys like Josh can attest to this as well, they're actually not too different in the sense that impressionists are super hardcore about their like the authenticity and having the right this and that, whether they know how it actually functions or not.
right,
The reenactors are kind of the same way, although they're almost more geared around educating people and stuff like that, because they do a lot of living history events and stuff like that, which is I've done as well, which is cool because you get to go to events and you just have regular people off the street coming by, like at the Fourth of July parade or whatever, asking about, hey, what does the M1 Grand do, or this is a Willys Jeep, or this, that, and the other. As with impressionism in airsoft, is not so much about educating people as it is looking cool, and as it is about kind of doing your kind of version of reenacting,
well,
the
my,
people that you
my
idolize. Yeah.
the way I've seen impressionism in airsoft is you've got everything is either insanely accurate or was like that piece of kit that was actually used.
Hmm.
That part of airsoft kind of bugs me. I mean, I know there's geardos out there that love that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Personally, that's not my thing. I do like good-looking kits,
Hmm.
and like I can appreciate well-made gear and such. But when it comes to trying to get the exact pouch from the exact unit from the year whatever, that's where I kind of draw the line, and that to me that's a little much on the airsoft side.
Albert Sue just donated $2 to super chat. So He
Oh,
says,
thanks,
"Salute you,
Albert.
two men." Aha, we salute you back. But yeah, like reenactors are much more anal about like real or fake or used in theater or not. And then you also have like the militaria collector side, which is kind of an extension of the reenactor side. So it's kind of it's a very interesting scale. Like you have impressionists on one end, or airsoft period, and then on one end you have like military collectors and World War II reenactors, and there's a lot of crossover, but there's a lot of differences too. But those guys in general are more like they're like, oh, this was used during D-Day or something like that. They're more into that stuff. Now, impressionism is kind of like having the correct pouches, but they're not so much worried about having like a pouch that was used by a dude in theater, unless it was something like a set of DCU cries used by CAG, and which is funny story. When I went to the set of SEAL Team CBS, in one of the team cages in their team in their little team room thingamajig, they actually have a couple cages with a ton of real gear, and in one of them is this guy. His name's Dan. Um, but yeah, he has a set of like Delta like used and issued like cries, and it's like the early like it's the first AC cut cries where like they were using shock cord around the to kind of tighten the pants around the knees instead of the Velcro that they do now. So
I
that
thought you were
was
gonna
pretty
say
cool.
they were
That's a
gonna. I thought you were gonna say they were using shot cord as their belt. Like what?
no, no, no. But yeah, that
Didn't
was
know
pretty
Delta
cool.
Force was so homeless, but okay.
Well, hey man, back in the '90s, like speaking of the Delta Force kit, I mean, you look back at that stuff, it kind of does look a little homeless. Like only a few years before, like during the an invasion of Panama, like Delta guys had like everything was duct taped to their rifles and like just jerry rigged as hell. Like nothing was like attached properly. And then once you get to Mogadishu, you start seeing like the change where like they have half cut Protex, and like they didn't even get their new ballistic helmets until the day after that. So or like the week following or whatnot. But
Oh,
um
sounds like the military, most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. But yeah, you see a lot of those like modified slings with the paracord loop through the front side post and stuff. And but yeah,
Hmm.
funny story about the helmets that Delta Force was using. So when the Battle of Mogadishu happened, none of those guys had ballistic helmets. They all had either full or half cut Protex, and embedded with them were a couple Navy SEAL snipers. And there's a couple pictures of them, but I'm pretty sure they were gold team dudes. So as soon as that happened, SEAL Team 6 back stateside had just gotten a bunch of ballistic helmets, and like the first set of ballistic helmets that the unit and Devru were 6 or whatever they were using at the time. So they had sent those over like immediately, like right as soon as that happened, they sent them over. So later when those guys were in country, they got them, but I mean they kind of didn't really get to really use them that much because after that, Bill Clinton pulled every Task Force Ranger and everyone out of Somalia. But that's kind of a cool story, and how I learned about that was one of the guys that I did a show for SWAT on CBS. He was a six guy back in like the '90s, and I was like, holy crap, dude, like that's so cool. But yeah, that guy like he lives in the LA area. He's a cool guy. You never know
That's
who you're gonna meet
cool.
down
All
here.
right.
Yeah.
So let's going back to the stolen valor
Hmm.
topic. Now there has somebody on Facebook commented like, "Oh, stolen valor, that's still a thing in airsoft." That will always be a thing, whether it's
Oh
in
yeah.
airsoft, whether it's in real life. As long as
Hmm.
there is a standing military, there's
Hmm.
always going to be people trying to claim that.
I think it really explodes during wartime because that's when people are like well, at least now people are more appreciative of the military.
Yeah. So,
Um
the topic that we were going to get on before we got off track was how to spot someone who is
oh, how to
stolen
spot
valor. So, the easiest way is obviously this person
someone.
is in uniform. The very subtle things to look out for is kind of like their basic hygiene. People in
Hmm.
the military have short hair. They have trimmed. Most of the time, they have trimmed fingernails, and the grooming standard is a lot higher than a
Yeah.
person who's just kind of
Yeah,
whatevs
basically
hippie.
like look in appearance, uniform or hair more or less is like the first kind of clue
Yeah,
usually.
that's one of the first clues. The way that they wear their uniform. A lot of
Hmm.
times, guys who are stolen valor wear the uniform incorrectly. You'll know the
Hmm.
biggest thing is it's always the boot blousing. The boot blousing is always done inappropriate or
Yeah,
incorrectly.
that's such a subtle thing too that a lot of those guys miss because they can look at a picture of what a soldier looks like, and it's like, oh, the haircut, everyone knows the haircut. Oh, the badges and stuff or the patches, like that's pretty easy. Like you just have to look at a picture to know. But the
Right.
boots, no one really, because the boots are kind of like an afterthought for most of those guys. It's like, for us, it's like tucked or tied or something. Like it just has
Yeah,
to look
yeah.
good.
I personally always
Then,
use boot bouncing bands, so
yes,
my stuff
yes.
looked pretty okay. But
Mhm.
you'll see a lot of dudes. Hang on, contact southeast. Let me call that in. Sorry. So yeah, the when you look at someone's boots and they're all jacked up, that is the first sign that someone is most likely going to be stolen valor. Some of the other things is when you the easiest thing is when you ask them very basic questions of their service. Some of the
Mhm.
very basic questions are where did you go to basic? Um, what unit are you in? And
MOS.
yeah, the
Yeah.
hilarious thing to me is people always the people doing the stolen valor always choose the most high speed secretive unit.
No one wants to be a cook.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I get it. If you're gonna
Mhm.
claim something, if you're gonna claim something kind of badass, you're gonna want to claim the most badass out of all the
Mhm.
badasses, which
Yeah.
is gonna be something like a SEAL or Delta Force guy.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, for those people, that is a very close, tight knit community. So if one person who is actually in that community finds out about your stolen valor,
Oh,
you are
you're gonna
definitely
get
going to
caught.
be
Yeah.
outed really, really quickly because all those dudes went to the same schools together. There's only a handful of units that they can all serve in together. It's not
Mhm.
like the bigger picture army where you could just be
There's
private.
thousands and thousands of, yeah,
Yeah,
Private Joe Stuffy and
yeah.
like First Brigade somewhere in the 90s.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of speaking on that too. Like, one thing, like, when it comes to people who go to Ranger School or they go to Buds or whatever,
Oh,
like their class number is like kind of a thing. Like people who goes to those specialty schools or who go through those special programs usually have like a class number or something like that. So that's like one thing. Like people in that class number, a lot of that stuff is researchable too. As in the one thing that's funny, the thing that probably gets at least when it comes to special operations, the thing that probably gets picked the most to be a fake version of is fake SEAL, which is funny because now now there's more SEALs on active duty than there are people like Rangers and stuff like that.
yeah. I found out through my experience with stolen valor dudes is the Navy ones. I love when dudes claim that they're Navy SEALs. To
Hmm.
me, because I mean, obviously, I've gone through all the basic Navy stuff, which everyone has to go through. So if someone
Hmm.
tells, oh, jeez, I just ate a GP30. Oh, there's that guy.
Oh shit! Yeah, I just saw
Um,
that.
so dudes that claim to be SEALs, they always get this part wrong, and they can never tell me their regular Navy boot camp. Whoop.
Oh, like whether you went to like
Well,
I don't know where you guys go.
so we
Yeah, but
we only have one place in all of America
oh,
for
there's
every
just one.
sailor. Yeah, for every sailor,
Dang,
there is only one place. And
that's
so,
crazy.
a lot of times these guys will know their Buds class number, the locker at the Buds, while they're at Coronado and stuff. But when you ask them
Mhm.
like, well, what was your who was your RDC recruit division commander or whatever, they just draw a blank because they don't know these very basic questions like what is
Mhm.
their recruit division number, and everyone usually remembers that because it's the worst time that you have in the Navy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everyone remembers your first experience with the military.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, boot
for
camp.
me,
Everyone
yeah,
usually remembers their boot camp experience.
yeah. Oh, I have some funny boot camp stories. Like, cause I was in Charlie 213. With their motto or slogan was like 40 rounds or whatever. Cause I guess wherever 213 was at one point in history, they had was 40 rounds, and that's kind of became their thing. But I remember I was on the Omaha range, was like I was like the buddy movement range, and I had a drill sergeant named Drill Sergeant Sickle, and I had like played the shit out of Call of Duty at that time. So I memorized how the guy in Call of Duty reloaded his M4. So when we could do the Omaha range, I'm like shooting at the target, and I have the mag in my back pocket because we didn't have any high speed like gear, like we didn't have mag carriers everywhere. So I reached back, reloaded the M4, and like gave it the slap and everything. And for like a private who's like technically never done anything, they were like, "Where'd you learn how to do that?" I told him, "I was like Call of Duty, drill sergeant," and then he just shook his head, and I was just like,
I would have
"Oh
shook my
well."
head too. Get
I was
out
like,
of here, you COD kid.
yeah.
Jeez.
He's like, so this is what it's come to. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you can kind of
You can
if
weed
you
these
if
people out with very very basic information about the
mhm,
military. So
yeah.
next we'll talk about what's been kind of coming up in the chat is the insignias and other things on their uniform. Uh,
Ah, okay.
a
So
lot of
like what's
times,
okay to wear or like
well,
or
let's talk about let's stay on track with what to spot for a stolen valor guy. So a stolen
okay,
valor
okay.
guy, obviously his patches and they just won't make any sense. He'll probably have like a first infantry division patch on, and then right below it, like I don't know what like an 82nd patch or so, or a 10th
Well,
mountain.
yeah, well,
Yeah, the
I don't know
patches.
what would fit under there because that patch is huge. But
Yeah,
usually it's like well, it's funny
so
because there's
the
so much.
army is the easiest. So what do you
Yeah.
see mainly in the army stuff?
Okay, because there's so much reference information, I mean, you have to be like a complete idiot to like misplace the patches, but it's usually like people like to put the tower of power up, like the tabs on tabs on tabs on tabs. And so like, you can kind of like look at a guy and kind of look at the tower of power he's got going on and you can kind of get a gist of whether that fits or not. Um, Usually people mess up the flag. Like the flag on the ACU or any Velcro uniform, the placement of the flag is pretty self-explanatory, but that's one where people like will put it on the lower portion instead of the upper portion on the flap of like the old ACUs and stuff like that. That one was kind of a giveaway. I mean, name tape switching, well, privates do that too, so that's not like a huge thing. Although usually if you've been in the army for a while, that's usually something you have like kind of taken care of by then because either your stuff is either sewn on now or you just have enough sets of name tapes that you can just kind of leave them on those uniforms. You're not like a private where you got like one set of name tapes or like two or three that that's all you have.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that. The unit patches, it's not so much. It's more so like the skill tabs and like the placement of the skill badges that go above the name tape, and like placement of the flag that people tend to mess up because those kind of have more subtle variations and stuff.
Yeah, well, what's hilarious about so the Marine Corps and the Navy don't really use any kind of
Hmm.
patch system. We have badges and such.
Yeah,
The
just
Marine Corps doesn't
badges.
really have much at all, quite honestly, for their working utility uniforms because there's not really any Velcro on them.
But them blues though.
Yeah, yeah. So now on the Navy side, dudes that claim to be SEALs, they obviously will always have the trident on there,
Mhm.
but they'll always mess up the all the other pins or other devices that go on there because the Navy stuff is a little hard to figure out what's going on because you can have a super duper different array of pins on your chest on your utility uniforms and it's kind of easier to fool people. However, if you are in the Navy and you see that stuff and you see it all messed up, it's super easy to spot. Like you could
So
like
you're talking like if the guy's gone to like free fall school or
right,
like this, that,
right.
and the other, and he's got a bunch of other skill badges on there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, technically, all those seals should have like scuba or something. That's kind of like that's like fucking mandatory.
Yeah, like most SEALs
Mm.
will have like
Yeah,
they usually they
mm.
can wear other pins like their jump wing pins or like
Yeah, jump wings. Yeah.
scuba pins, but normally they all just choose to wear their trident because it's an all-encompassing pin.
Yeah, self-explanatory.
Yeah. So let's talk about wearing that stuff to airsoft. So
Oh,
now at an airsoft game, this is kind of an area that I don't like to see people wearing this stuff. Like like unless you're doing if you're doing a super duper impression and maybe if you're trying to take really good photos, okay, maybe then you can wear. I guess you get a pass on wearing like a 75th Ranger Regiment tab or whatever.
or
But like
what?
if you're just going to a pickup game and you know and you're just there playing and you're wearing that stuff, as long as you're not claiming to be that, I don't really mind. I mean, that's just my personal preference. What about you, Greg?
So, okay, you tend to see that happen a lot over in international countries because they're like, not to say they're like super impressionists, but it's like for them, it's like it's a foreign military that they're trying to be. So, they'll wear all the unit patches and whatever. So, like when I was playing in Japan, I didn't really care because people don't know any better. They're just trying to be Americans. It's like, well, it's cool. They think Americans are cool. That's cool. At least in the United States, I mean, that's kind of a bigger issue, obviously. So my recommendation is like don't wear any unit patches unless you were part of that unit. Some guys like to wear their old stuff. Um, And even when it comes to like impressions and stuff, there's no no special operations unit is gonna wear their unit patches like in theater on mission unless it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, like they all go sterile because like the whole point is like if you get captured, you don't want people to know who the hell you are. I mean if you're wearing like a gold team patch or a red team patch or something like that, I mean that's kind of like it's not
It's
as that's a little
subtle.
different. Yeah, it's more subtle
Yeah, I
because
mean,
you know that's more
I
that's like
wear a
a
gold team patch. I do have a gold whatever, but I mean, it's not like I'm wearing a trident. Like,
yeah. I mean that's like with the Navy SEAL impressionism, like those patches are kind of thing. But like, uh, it's kind of funny because it's like it's in the same realm, but it's kind of different because like, you know, those fucking units aren't even supposed to exist. Everyone knows they do, but you know, so because of that kind of caveat that they're so secretive that no one's even supposed to know what the hell their insignia is, people can kind of get away with it. As opposed if you show up with like a ranger scroll and a tab on top of there at an event, people are gonna ask you about that. People are gonna be like, "Hey, yo." Now, I've seen a lot of kids run around with 80-second patches too. It didn't bother me like too much, but it was just like, yeah. I mean, they're kids or whatever. Sometimes their explanations like, "Oh, it's my grandpa's uniform, my dad's uniform," or something like that.
yeah, which is
Some of those
understandable.
cases, it's true. You know, some of those cases, it's true, or whatnot. My recommendation is like, you know, if you're of age, you know, you're kind of doing your own thing as an airsoft or milsim, what have you. You know, I probably wouldn't wear any like unit patches, unless you know that's the unit that you were in. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of almost cooler to go sterile. To be honest, yeah, and it almost makes the pictures more realistic because you know,
Yeah,
look, yeah,
I hate actually wearing tons of patches. I don't know how people wear millions of patches on their stuff.
yeah.
But
I have to make a video about that overpatching. But yeah, just keep it simple is my recommendation, and yeah, don't over exaggerate it.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's see. We covered what to look for uniform wise with stolen valor people. We've uh about what to ask them. I mean, if you think someone has stolen valor, I mean, it's best to just kind of ignore them. Especially if you don't really know how to call those people out, you should probably just leave it to someone who's actually been in the military. And I mean, it also depends on the severity of what they're saying. If they're just trying to
Yeah,
say like, "Yeah, I'm in the army,"
yeah.
but I mean,
It's
if
different,
it's
yeah.
something for that's gonna have like monetary gain,
Hmm.
or something like that, you should definitely call those people out. There have been instances, a lot of instances actually in airsoft where people have claimed stuff and were not. So let's kind of touch on some of those
Those bad
past
eggs.
stolen valors. What the two that come that stand out to me that are kind of recent. Well, one of them is recent. The other one is not so recent.
Hmm.
The most recent one was the Atrox Ivan, who was claiming to
Oh,
be
I heard that.
I believe he was claiming to be a ranger.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's what it
then
was.
another one where this is an older one. It was the Team Rainbow Airsoft guys,
Oh, you're talking
and
about Todd, yeah.
yeah, and there was a guy that was on their team, and his call sign was literally Ranger,
Yeah.
and he was claiming to be a Ranger as well. Obviously, it turned out that he was not a Ranger. Both these people were ousted.
Wait. Hmm.
Oh, is that a
He
guy?
he was claiming to be Ranger qualified, cause like he had the tab on his like little mask and everything, and I remember talking to him about that. But yeah, basically like his story was that he went to a Ranger school and then failed, but basically he didn't want to tell anyone that he failed because he felt bad or whatever. Regardless, it was definitely wrong. So I mean, and that's kind of
Yeah,
essentially how, yeah.
yeah, but that I
So
mean
that's one, and
that
then
itself didn't really make
yeah.
sense. You know, like
Yeah, the story was kind of weird and wishy-washy, but it's funny. It's actually the three that come to mind, including the two that you just mentioned. They were all fake Ranger, fake Ranger
yeah,
stories.
everyone just wants to
Yeah,
be a Ranger. I mean,
so the Ranger's like the new hotness right now.
I
Like,
guess before it
yeah,
was people wanted to be SEALs. Now everyone wants to
Seals,
be a
and everyone wants to be a
Ranger.
Ranger or
Uh,
SF
I
or
and it,
Tag.
the other thing too about Rangers is there's so much about that unit that there's so many things that unit does in terms of like, oh yeah, everyone needs to memorize this chant or everyone needs to memorize this thing, and it's super
Hmm.
easy to be like, hey man, what's the Ranger blah blah blah,
Well, you basically you have okay, so you have the
and then they
Ranger
just draw
creed,
a
and then you
blank.
have fucking is Rod see fucking it's
Medic.
Rogers rules of ranging. Rogers rules of ranging. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. But yeah, there's basically like the rules of ranging, which are basically kind of like the guidelines to infantry warfare. Those are some of the things. Yeah, obviously the Ranger Creed. I mean, everyone in that unit knows that, and everyone in CAG. Well, most people, if not all of those guys in CAG, kind of live by that as well. They're now, a lot of those guys get referred to as the Big Brother, the Big Brother unit. But yeah, like stuff like that. I mean, every unit has its creed. Every unit has its traditions and stuff like that. Like for example, like for SEAL team specifically for Dev Group for like Red Team, when you get into the unit, they put an Indian headdress on you, and that's how you get initiated in. And when you leave that unit, they put it on your head, and that's how you leave. So stuff like that. And so there's like all these little subtle details about those units. But yeah, most of the stolen valor cases have kind of been Ranger related as of late, including
Yeah.
yeah, Jiro or Nicholas Irving, the third bat sniper, called out that guy who yeah, Jiro was a airsofter, and I think he was at SHOT Show recently, but yeah, he got
Yeah, I,
called
I
out
actually
hardcore.
I saw that dude at SHOT Show.
You saw him at
Yeah.
SHOT Show? Oh my god.
So the person that we're talking about really isn't any kind of notable airsoft personality or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
He is just a customer and a longtime SoCal airsofter that was also claiming to be a ranger too, I believe, or something. He was
Mhm.
claiming to be something.
Yeah,
Um,
he was claiming to be a ranger,
okay.
and he like what happened was he had tried to do something where he was trying to interact with the wife or the mother no, it was the mother of a fallen ranger who happened to be Nicholas Irving's buddy, and so that's what kind of lit the fire for that one.
Okay,
And I
yeah,
mean, so
that's
you had Nicholas Irving coming after you. It's like that's not good.
yeah, that's a super messed up super messed up thing to do too is to claim that you're a part of something to the dead mother of somebody like that is the ultimate
Yeah.
that's just super duper dirtbag status, quite honestly.
He definitely went off the grid for a while, but apparently not off the grid enough if he's willing to show his face at SHOT Show.
Yeah.
um, let's see, but yeah, Stolen Valor just it's I'm trying to think if it's been on the rise. It seems like it's been pretty steady just throughout the war, just because there's just so much more access to like uniforms and stuff, and
Yeah,
because there's
I feel
benefits.
like we're
Just,
gonna
yeah.
come to a point where the global war on terror is gonna kind of be like a Vietnam, where we've got all these, as time goes on, we're gonna have more people coming out of the woodwork
Proxy, yeah,
talking about like
yeah,
proxy wars and other secret
yeah.
missions and stuff. Which I mean,
Well,
a lot of that
mhm,
stuff is totally plausible.
yeah.
We are fighting this war on several fronts.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know about the third front on the GWAT, which is the Philippines.
Oh yeah, I
The
mean
new president
that's
kicked
yeah.
out all the American forces, and
Oh yeah,
that's
and
why.
then he had a big ISIS battle right after that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been going on for a while. You basically have AFRICOM in like the Middle East,
Yeah,
and then yeah, you
Africa.
have
Africa is another new area of conflict
mhm.
that U.S.
I
forces are
mean,
in.
kind of new, but I mean, it's basically like an extension of the unresolved happenings of like kind of related to like Mogadishu in a sense, because like Al Shabaab and stuff like that's kind of like their area or whatnot.
Hmm.
If I recall, and
There's a
I could be
guy
wrong,
shot.
but yeah, those are kind of like the three hotspots. But yeah, like for example, like I mean, it's kind of interesting now because like if someone says that they were in Vietnam and they're like in their like 50s or whatever, you kind of like I usually don't ask questions. Or if someone's like 80 or 90 and they say I was in World War II, I'm like, hey man, show me your like your whatever you had before DD-214s or
Yeah.
whatever.
In the chat, we had some Revolutionary War veterans out there claiming
Oh my
talking
god.
about stolen val. Ah, jokes,
Like
obviously. Jokes, obviously.
but it's actually kind of funny. Fun fact: when World War II ended, guys were coming back and they were getting out so fast that a lot of them didn't have clothes. So there if you see a lot of World War II uniforms with this interesting diamond badge that goes over like the left side of the right side on their chest, if you're looking at them, it'll be on the left side. That was kind of something to show that they were like either out or getting out, but they didn't have like people clothes again. So that's kind of a fun little fact if you see a World War II uniform with that on. But yeah, it's kind of funny because like any guy who's like old wearing like a Vietnam or World War II hat, you kind of don't really second guess them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I mean who
Whoops.
knows? But there's really not that many of those guys left. But yeah, when it comes to modern stolen valor, it's I mean it's out there. But yeah, hopefully you can identify it, and you don't necessarily have to confront it unless there's unless you feel
Yeah, our
feel like you
suggest
want to.
our
Yeah.
our our professional recommendation on confronting stolen valor is if you're a civilian and you don't know anything about the military,
Mhm.
don't confront those guys. Ask a buddy who has military experience or is in the military.
Mhm.
And for the most part, you don't even need to acknowledge those people
Mhm.
because they're really just doing it for, you know,
They're just wasting air.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
not really worth your time to argue with. That's what
Yeah.
most of them, at least. Most of them have, because they're just gonna talk in circles. Um, One thing that I've noticed a lot, perusing Instagram and Facebook is you look at a lot of a lot of these pages that are like Ultimate Warrior, Real War, this and this and this, and a lot of those pages. It's all this moto stuff that you're just like, how is like who even lives like this? Like, like
Damn, are
constant
you under
war.
attack all the time?
Yeah, like I don't understand. An actual real military page will focus more on the messed up humor of the military than the actual fighting part because
Making people laugh. Yeah.
there's way more hilarity and nonsense
Oh,
that goes on in the military
yeah,
than
like
actual gunfighting.
U.S. Army, what the fuck is and Terminal Lance are probably
Yeah,
like the
Terminal
two best
Lance.
examples of that.
Hmm. Yeah, those are pages that are actual military pages,
Yeah.
and you'll notice that most of their stuff is like, oh man, this thing in supply got messed up today, or so
Yeah,
and
or
so.
someone got a tank stuck.
Yeah, someone flipped the tank
Yeah.
over again. And then every now and then you'll see a story about like, look at this warfighter, he
Yeah.
shot 8 Taliban or something, and then
Oh,
killed one with a spoon.
speaking of Terminal Lance, there's a really funny video that it's been out for a while, but it popped up again. It's the video of the Marine who could not reassemble his rifle, and
I
that's
don't
like one of the
understand.
most
Yeah, I don't
that's like
understand
one
how
of the
that's a
most
thing.
like eye gouging things you could possibly think of, because like that's supposed to be like the thing that's the Marine Corps thing, is the rifle. But the
Yeah.
guy he was trying to put the bolt carrier in backwards, and you could see everyone around him was like dying or cracking up. But I'm like, dear God, like Chesty Puller is like killing himself again in the afterlife somewhere upon seeing this or something. But yeah. Military pages will overall generally focus on humor, and there's quite a few out there, and there's a bunch of good ones on Instagram. Like Breachbang Clear is a good veteran-owned one. I think Barstool Operators. And it's kind of funny because of how the war's gone on. There's a ton of soft guys that are now kind of in the veteran space. Like we've been like we've making these guys like it's the clone army. Like there are tons of them now. But like um yeah, but
Are
yeah,
you able to get in this game, or did your
dude,
thing
like
crash?
okay, so here's what happened. There's like some kind of memory issue that I have with this game, and usually it works, but tonight it's not working. So I've basically been staring at a frozen version of Squad for like the last, I don't know what,
Oh, rip.
30
That
minutes.
sucks.
Yeah. So I'm
Okay.
like, cause like the only way to get out of it is to like reboot my PC. So
Okay. Okay.
that's what I did
Well,
now. But
since you're
that's what
not
I figured.
playing, I'm assuming that you've been kind of looking at the chat and stuff.
Yeah. Let me see if
Were
there's
there
any
any
like.
interesting questions that you felt like we should
Let
answer?
me
Because
see.
I saw a few, but I'm also like trying to shoot bad guys and get
Yeah,
shot
yeah.
at by
Okay.
bad guys.
Let me see.
Stop
Let's
it,
see.
bad guys! I'm trying to answer questions.
So let's see. I just feel those nervous. I said that one day. Trying to see if I can find
Whoa!
a good one.
Oh, let's not go that way. There's just bad guys everywhere. Ah, shit. I just missed that bad guy. Where'd he
Yeah, I'm
go?
scrolling through. I'm just scrolling through right now, but one of the things that was really funny, kind of going back all the way to the beginning with the Blurgate, and just so you guys know, it was my buddy that came up with the Blurgate hashtag, one of my reenactment buddies, and so I kind of like pushed it onto everything and just kept posting it, and I'm glad it's kind of become a thing, which is really funny. Um, it's really a shame that like I mean, well,
Ooh.
okay, it's kind of cool that they deleted the post, but also kind of sad too because the memes and the posts in there were just pure gold. Like
Parkour, mother
the
effer!
the uh the reverse blurred photos that people were posting were just the best. And
Yeah,
someone put
yeah.
meme team 6 and it was like all their guys with blurred faces and stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to go and see if there's any good. So yeah, the Civil War. I see the Civil War veteran ones.
That one was pretty
Let's
funny.
see.
I
Yeah,
lulled.
yeah. If you guys have questions, drop them in there, and I will read them and check it out. let's see. Greg Squad has been doing that to me recently after. Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah. Someone said that they were having memory issues with Squad after the update.
You might have to
Hashtag
clear
Logan.
your cat. Like, there's a button to like clear cache. You probably should
In
do
in
that.
the menu of Squad or
Yeah, yeah. It's like in the settings menu or the control menu or
okay.
something.
Maybe I'll try that. Let's see. Someone's asking, so Jet and Greg, will you make a trek to Siege Airsoft in Toronto one day? I mean, I'm trying to get up to Canada one of these days. Like, I don't know if you've noticed yet, but just from the dealer side, just from PTS side, the Canadian scene just seems like it's blowing up. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on up
You know
there,
what
but
other scene has been blowing up? Oh, we killed each other. Is the South American scene. I've
yeah,
seen
I've
a
been noticing that too.
lot of Latin players on
Well,
Instagram,
didn't you guys
Facebook,
go
and
down to like
we
the
went to
you guys?
Aruba, which is
Yeah,
an
you went to
island
Aruba.
off. It's an island 30 minutes off the coast of South America. We
Yeah,
did have a lot of players that came from Brazil and such.
yeah.
To that game, it was really cool. I really like that. I really like Aruba, and I'd like to go back.
Mm.
I don't know when that's gonna happen.
When you guys played in Hawaii, did you guys play in the tropical side or like the urban-y mountain side of Hawaii? Because I know you
We
guys played out there a couple times.
well, there's only like one field in Hawaii, or there
Yeah,
was, and it's kind of in the middle. It's
yeah.
almost in the middle of
Like
Waikiki.
kind of like oh, okay, so it's almost in the middle of Waikiki. Are you talking about like Power Edge or E-Power, like the indoor one?
No, this was an outdoor field.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, it's called Tactical Airgun Game. I believe that's what
okay.
it's called. Yeah. Man, this game is not going well, but I have been shooting a crap ton of bad guys. Like, my squad is like, we lost a rally point. There's no FOB to spawn at. I need to just give up.
I've always wanted to play in the jungle, which is funny because I was actually went to Hawaii for WLC, so I got to fight in the little like forest that's right outside Schofield. Although it kind of sucked because it's just humid all the time there, and it rained every single day. I don't know what it is about that island. It just rains there every single day. Um, someone says TPG links. Yo, Jet, I'm planning on going into the Marine Corps infantry straight out of high school, but wondering if I should just go to ROTC through college first. Thanks.
I mean, that just depends on your career path of what you're
Yeah.
trying to do in the military. My biggest
Yeah.
regret in the military is I did not do things more properly for the route that I wanted to go.
Mhm.
I originally joined the Navy to be a SARC, which is a Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman, and that is basically it's a force recon medic. That's basically what that is, and that's what I originally wanted to do when I was in the military.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I rushed myself and I signed up under a contract called National Call to Service, which you did 2 years active and 2 years reserve. So I finished my 2 years active. I somehow got a deployment out of that. It wasn't the most glamorous of deployments. It was just a lot of driving around the western desert. Um, and at that point, too, the surge was going on, so there really wasn't a lot of action to be had because these insurgents, they're not dumb. They understand that, like, oh, there is a lot more like uniformed American dudes here than there were last year. We should probably just kind of chill out for
Yeah.
a little bit. Like, we can't
Yeah.
fight all these guys.
Yeah, a couple of my buddies were part of the surge. They were in second 325 at 82nd, so yeah, they fucked up a lot of
Yeah,
dudes.
and I mean, like, to give you an impression of like how well the surge was going, there were U.S. Navy SEALs on foot patrols. Like,
They're just like
you
looking for
never,
something to
yeah, they
do.
were looking for things to do while training, the Iraqi army. But that's something that normally doesn't happen. You don't normally see a U.S. Navy SEAL on a foot patrol in the daytime, like
Yeah. Oh, a
that.
daytime presence
Yeah,
patrol.
it was a daytime presence patrol by U.S. Navy SEALs. That's how bored they
Yeah,
were,
they
and that's
must
how
have been
much there was nothing
bored.
really to do.
Yeah. Let's see.
Um,
Let's see. Let me see if I can find another question.
so yeah, I would
Um,
say figure out what you want to do with your career and cater your service to what that is. Like, if you want to be an officer, obviously that's when you should do that's when you should do the ROTC. I'm getting shot at. Oh,
yeah. I think the biggest portion is researching what it is you want to do and what it takes to get there. So
yeah,
researching
yeah.
is huge. A lot of people underestimate the research side, and they just kind of go at whatever the recruiter tells them, which is not the smartest thing to do. And A,
Definitely.
score good on your ASVAB, because the higher you score, the more options you get. Because I mean, I've seen some people score so low that like, I mean, they like give you they give you points just for walking in the door, and some people still
Thanks.
fail. So I'm like, how the hell do you fail? Um, let's see, let's see, let's see. Someone says, "What about Marine Force Recon?" Well, neither Jet or I know really. I mean,
I know about
yeah,
the
we need.
I know about the pipeline to get into
Mhm.
recon because like obviously that's what I wanted to do. So I
Mhm.
know about the pipeline, but that's about it. And
Mhm.
that pipeline was from 2006 when I was still
Yeah.
going through training.
Mhm.
So yeah,
It's super different. You'd have to ask.
you'd
Let's
have to
see.
ask someone who's current, quite
It's
honestly.
kind of funny too. Like, to be honest, like with I forgot. I mean, Force Reconnaissance never went away, but it almost got kind of diminished because they pulled everyone out of Force Recon to stand up MARSOC, and then they started putting a bunch of other guys from the regular Marine Corps into MARSOC. So I can't remember if they started plussing up Force Recon proper again, or if they're still more or
Whoa!
less integrated into
Don't go that
MARSOC.
way. When a dude drops dead in front of you, you turn around and go back the other way. I will say so. I do have a small well, kind of a heartbreaking story in terms of my service. So, like I said before, I signed up because I wanted to be a SARC, Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman, and I didn't get that chance because take that terrorist truck, because the contract that I joined under. There was a time though during my training at Field Medical Service School. I believe it has a different name now. Before it was
Mhm.
called FMSS. I'm not sure what it's called now. I know it has a different name from other corpsmen that I've talked to. I did the screen test for Recon, which is the PT test,
Mhm.
and I passed it. So I passed the PT
But
test. Yeah, it's really not that. To me, it's not that hard if you're training for it. That's the biggest thing is you have to train for it. You can't just
yeah.
sign up and then go, okay, I'm going to be a SEAL and then not have
Mhm.
done the proper physical training. So I passed it, and they understood my situation with my contract, and they had told.
Oh, but you were locked into your contract, and
Well,
that's why.
they told me that they were gonna try everything in their power to get it changed. Which I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know exactly to what extent they did, but when someone tells you that, you believe them, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to like the military.
You're like, "Oh, yeah, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen."
Yeah, so during oh man, so during FMSS we get to 3 days before graduation, and it's been like a month and a half or something since I passed that test, and the whole time I've been like, okay, they told us that everyone who passed is going to 1st Recon Battalion to begin the pipeline training. So that whole time I was just like, cool, I did it. I'm going to start the pipeline. I need to start getting ready physically and mentally for this thing. 3 days before field med graduation, they call me in. They go, hey man, we couldn't get your contract changed. You're going to Camp Lejeune. And I had lost all motivation to do anything after that
Oh, that sucks.
because I was
Yeah.
just so heartbroken. Like, dang, like I had just gone like a whole month of knowing that like I did it. All right, cool. Now I have my one opportunity now to do what I want to do, and oh shit, that's a grenade. And now they're telling me, otherwise. So
Yeah.
it was pretty devastating. However, I just went, okay, well, that's the cards I've been dealt, and immediately got to Lejeune and volunteered for the first deployment to Iraq. So
I
that's how I
kinda
dealt with that.
I kinda I've had a few situations like that. I got turned down from deployment twice because of, I have a liver condition. Basically, yeah, people can't come in contact with my blood. It's bad. But
Oh, good to know.
which
All
is
right.
which is one of those things where it's like if you have blown up, that's kind of bad. But more or less, yeah. So that's how I ended up in Japan the first time, and then I went to Bragg a second time because I got sent to 112 SIG, which is it's basically the support brigade for USASOC. So like psyops and stuff, and everything's part of that 528 sustainment. And 112 SIG is more or less like it was the special operations signal arm of USASOC. So I was like, cool. Not only am I in a cool unit, but they're also getting ready to deploy again. But yeah, they got me again. Like, 'cause right before you deploy, you go through what's called SRP, which is basically like their medical readiness assessment to
Okay.
make sure that you're like ready to go. And it happened twice. Like, it happened right after I did JRTC in Louisiana with 82nd. They caught it, and then they're like, "Hey, you can't go." I was like, "Are you kidding me? I just did like the entire train up for this. Fuck."
That sucks. Yeah.
Then I got sent to Japan. I played Airsoft in Japan. I went back to Bragg, and then I was like, "Oh, cool! Now I'm part of a cool unit, and now I actually have a team. Like the doing like the joint network. I don't know, joint network nodes, different one. I'm trying to remember what it was, but basically, yeah, I got boned again, and they were like, "Well, if you re-enlist, we can hopefully get you as an RTO for CAC." And I was like, "Fuck!" But I mean, it's a big maybe. Like it's like they can say whatever they want to kind of like get you to re-enlist, but it's like because I was like, it happened to me twice. I was like, chances are it's probably gonna happen to me a third time. I was like, what's the point? And by that time, like things had started picking up, like opportunities were popping up outside the military. So I was like, I think I'm ready to get out. Although, I mean, that would be a really fucking cool deployment, to be honest. But I mean,
Yeah.
I was pretty sure that I was just gonna get boned again. So I was like, thanks, Army. I'm just I did my time. And the only other time that I also got boned is when I was in Japan. I was I
Medic.
was supposed to go to air assault school in Hawaii. Like apparently there was like you have like the main air assault school at like Fort Campbell, but
Thanks, medic.
apparently there was like a mobile training team or mobile training school or mobile school, whatever it was, and it was in Hawaii. And since I was part of U.S. Army Pacific, being in Japan, they were like, "Hey, we have slots for air assault school," and I was like, "Holy shit!" So I could get
Look at
like a
this
different
guy's
set of
ear.
wings.
Oh my god, his ear is sorry.
Oh, and he glitched. Did he glitch?
No, no, no. There's a medic reviving me, but his face was like right next to mine, and his ear was like 10 feet tall. Oh, is that the guy that was shooting me? Oh no, that's not a guy. That's the
Oh,
bot.
I see. Yeah, he's like his geometry was like going through your body.
Oh, damn it.
Let's see. Someone's asking Force Recon. Not necessarily. It's just about what you want. If you want to be in Force Recon or MARSOC, that's one path. I know a couple guys that are in it. Yeah, dudes are getting out of MARSOC like crazy right now for some reason. I mean,
Greg is going
any
to work with CAC. No,
CAC,
not CAC.
dude's
CAG.
getting CAG.
CAG.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come.
If
What is
if I
it?
had re-enlisted, there were the commander, at least of my company, was like promising that, and I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like the army promises a lot of shit. I mean, it sounded really good, but I was like, who wants to wait like a whole year just to see for a maybe? It's like I don't know about that. Let's see. Yeah, Fort Campbell. Woo. Yeah, I've never been to Fort Campbell, although it was very close. Where was I that I was out that way somewhere?
We are
No,
losing
no.
this game so hard. Oh man.
Let's see.
I can't get over this thing. Okay,
I'm
we'll
just
go this way.
breezing through the comments. Someone said they joined the Missouri Military Academy in Mexico, Missouri. Whoa, there's a place called Mexico in Missouri. That's nuts.
That's not
What?
confusing at all. Oh shit, that's a bad guy.
See,
Oh,
someone's like,
oh my
remember not to
goodness.
be blood brothers with Greg. Yeah, definitely, man. You do not want my blood. It will kill you. Someone's asking if you have ever played Rainbow Six Siege. I'm pretty sure you have.
Yeah, I have. That I don't know. That game's a little too small for my liking. Just
I just couldn't get
and it
into
gets
it.
and it gets a little confusing to me too.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, watching people play and be good at the game is really impressive, but I could not get the feeling for the flow and the gunplay in that game. It
yeah,
was just
I could
really
watch
weird.
Matimio play that game all the time. In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
when we were playing squad up with Level Cap, X Factor, and Matimio
Mhm.
and Jack Frags, it was literally just Matimio carrying us.
Carrying both of you
I would
guys.
say like 70% of the time. He's definitely carrying me because
He
I
is
was
like
terrible at that game.
he's like almost like an aimbot. He's good. He's really good.
Yeah, yeah. All right, there's three
Yeah.
medics by me. I don't know if any of them are coming. Oh, no, one
Far
died.
Cry 4.
That's probably not a good
Australian
sign.
Army can use airsoft. Citizens can't. Thoughts? No, I mean there is like the whole like
I mean,
basically they
airsoft
got
is yeah, airsoft is banned.
airsoft is yeah, that sucks.
I mean,
That
it's
sucks.
about to be unbanned in one like district. I believe
What?
it's like Queensland or something.
Move to Queensland, guys.
Yeah, where
So
the
you can
hell is
play
this?
airsoft.
There's a bad guy just shooting all these medics. Just, but where is he? That's not him. Where is this dude at? All right, I don't know. I'm going this way because I'm trying not to get killed straight out of the base again.
Yeah, someone's saying that the Australian Defence Force you can go from apprentices and trainees to
To what?
Someone said, I don't know, I'm not sure what their pipeline is, but he said basically he's saying like their defense force trainees can kind of go to wherever after that. So I'm not exactly sure how that works out.
I mean,
Uh,
that's a huge military, and I'm sure there's tons of opportunities for people in the IDF, mainly because a lot of dudes are like, for lack of a better word, they're conscripted into it. Oh
mhm.
shoot, I'm getting shot at.
Let's see. Dun, 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 dun.
Actually, that's the topic that a lot of people talk.
Oh,
That's kind of a
conscription
not so much well, I guess it's a form of conscription because it's
or
mandatory.
mandatory
Yeah, it's
service.
mandatory
Yeah.
service. I used to be for mandatory service. I'm not sure now because uh, one thing that's kind of opened up, one person that's opened up my eyes to what what mandatory service does and how it's a kind of detrimental to your overall military is when when it becomes mandatory, you get the people who don't. I mean, you're getting people who don't want to
You're
do
getting
it.
more people who don't want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you
and
tend to find selective service is more common amongst states that have a more need to have a standing army all the time because they're under attack, like Israel. So I mean, their situation different. Uh, our country's huge, like, and like, okay, so the benefit of selective service is that everyone's gone through the same experience, everyone's kind of on the same page, and everyone's contributed to said society. The bad side is if, I mean, obviously, like you're getting everybody. You're getting the good and the bad.
yeah,
If
you're usually getting more bad than good.
yeah, if I was to do it, I would do selective service as selective like something like you don't might not necessarily have to be military. Maybe it could be law enforcement, or maybe it could be like firefighters, or maybe it could be like first responders, or it could be like some or hell working at the post office or something. Something like something related to like supporting the community or whatever. And there's like different tiers, but like the highest tier would be like obviously like joining the military or
Yeah.
whatever.
Did I say
Um,
ADF? I could have swore I said IDF.
IDF,
I mean, if I
Afghan
said
Defense Force.
my bad if I said
ADF.
ADF. Trust me, I know what it means. It's Israeli Defense
It's
Force.
ADF, man. Not ADF, not IDF.
I
IDF,
mean,
not ADF.
Afghanistan might get to that at some point. Holy cow.
Yeah, God, who knows, man? They're super tribal over there, so it's like, I mean, they're getting better, but only like by inches. I'm trying to think, but yeah,
uh,
like so, like what for my thing with selective, with that is maybe not make the military to be the only option to serve your country in that regard, but basically like after you get out of like high school, you do like a year of something community building based or something like law enforcement or whatever, or be like a cadet somewhere or something like that. And then after that, you do willy nilly whatever you want, or you go straight into college or one of the two, or something like that. But it's I think it's one of those things that we're so far on the spectrum where we're only taking volunteers to the point that I mean we're like kind of exhausting our volunteer force, and there's such a big disconnect between the veterans and the not veterans because Joe Schmo, his only interaction with the army or his only knowledge about the internet or movies and stuff. So it's like they don't really see eye to eye in terms of values and in terms of ideas and ideals. So I think somewhere in the middle is probably the best case. But obviously, if you go on either end, you're losing ground somewhere. But that's my take on it: is that there might be some way to kind of give everyone the ability to chip in into what society has to offer.
yeah, I think that's a good one. You know, let them choose. Like maybe you want to serve your country, but you don't want to shoot a gun. Maybe you want to like be a desk jockey. Because there's tons of
Yeah,
dudes in there. There's tons of dudes already in the military that are like that. You know,
yeah,
they want to serve,
yeah.
but they don't really want to, necessarily be on that front line.
Yeah, they don't want to be stabbing and getting stabbed with bayonets in the face. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna die again. Where's this bad guy at?
Are you yeah, I just see you
Fuck!
slinging 203s. You're just like, he's down there
God!
somewhere.
Stop shooting me!
Jesus. Dude, you're like behind I mean, I don't know how long the
I have
delay
no.
is, but you're
I'm just
behind
gonna
that rock.
die.
Oh,
I'm
you're
just gonna
dead.
die.
You just got shot.
I'm
Oh,
dead.
damn.
I'm dead.
Someone says, let's see. Some people join the military to get in a ton of action, but really volunteering at a fire department is a lot more action than the military. Well, yeah, because like those guys, well, action in terms of like seeing trauma on the daily, more than likely, yeah. Like anyone who's a first responder or cops, like, I mean, anyone who's had a friend who's a cop or anyone knows, like, you're seeing like you're literally like going from helping grandma to like seeing someone have their face blown off like from call to call. So it's like
Yeah, not cool. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I mean that's a tough job too. It's arguably tougher because there's a lot of political pressure on. There's so much political pressure even just on defending yourself. It's kind of in the military kind of has a little more leeway because war zone is like, hey man, we got this checkpoint. If you don't slow down, we're putting 50 cal through your engine block and your front windshield. So you know, but yeah, you don't kind of get that much leeway on superior flannel comments with the grand thumb.
Yeah. All
I
right,
picture that's
guys.
funny.
Well, that's going to wrap up the stream tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you guys learned a thing or two about Stolen Valor. Thank you, Greg, for being a part of the
Yeah,
stream and
yeah,
your
thanks.
contributions to Blurgate and America as a whole.
Blurgate, Blurgate. We'll never forget Blurgate.
All right, guys,
2018.
make sure to hit that subscribe button. Check out Spartan117GW's channel. He's also got some cool content on his. And I'll see you guys hopefully on Tuesday with a new video. See you,
All right,
everybody.
adios. Bye.